Hey folks, welcome back. Rudy, Alpha Investments. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Today, I get a lot of messages who people want to have kind of discussions and assistance, or how do I handle a situation, especially when it comes to purchasing or selling on eBay and TCG Player, when dealing with like high-end Pokemon cards, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, even Weiss nowadays, Flesh and Blood nowadays, any form of collectible, and then something goes wrong, or a surprise happens or something. So today I've got a great story to share with everyone that I think is going to be an important kind of, it's kind of a how to handle when you run into something that you're not prepared for, or you get surprised by, and how to handle some of these eBay problems or TCG Player problems. There's kind of a right and a wrong way to deal with it, but there is really only so much you can do if one of the two parties really kind of goes from just trying to communicate to escalating, and it gets really intense. So today, the whole video is based around actually one little beta card over here from an eBay purchase. And in the case, the card looks beautiful. And I saw the picture online, and it looked beautiful on eBay. And you guys can type it in, the beta, the old Ankh of Mishra. You can go on eBay, hit sold listings. You can see the listing and everything from, it's probably a couple weeks ago by the time you guys see this video. And beautiful picture, beautiful card. So, unfortunately, what ended up happening was the card received. Actually, you know what? We'll pause here. Let's swap over real quick on the camera view, shall we? All right, we're back. So we ended up receiving this beautiful, beautiful card. No, I'm not. You're going to see the guy's seller's account, but I'm not going to give his personal information because there's no point. We're not doxing anyone, and this is more of an interesting thing. So again, look at the card. It's a beautiful card. Holy cow, that is a beaut. This was something when I looked at the card, I was like, man. I've been looking for just more near mint cards of this, and the problem is these cards are really tough to get in near mint. And so anyways, I received the card, I took it out of the case, and unfortunately, you're like, oh man, look how, that is near mint. That is a beautiful beta card, man. That is beautiful. And then unfortunately, you guys know what this is, right? You got the huge dent in the card, and this is very, very common. And you know, I actually just realized there's actually a bottom, kind of a light crease on the bottom. I didn't even notice that before. Okay. Well, the video is supposed to be focused on the actual binder surface damage. And you can see it on the front too. It actually goes into the card. And again, when you look at the card, the average person will not know it, especially if they just pull it out and they're listing it and they're actually not looking at it. Wow, I didn't realize there's actually a second crease at the bottom. That's, yikes, okay. So anyways, what ended up happening here is you can see the specific, it's almost like teeth marks that grind into it. There's some little left to right lines on there. And then of course on the front, you can actually see where it was pushed up into the card. And obviously, I hate to say it, but this is very common. Take a look. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to show you guys an interesting example here. You ready? So I know it's not beta. I don't have any, I think all my beta ones of this card are graded. I don't think I have any raw ones, but I at least want to show you an idea here. So here's the unlimited version. Unfortunately, as you can see, when you deal with the unlimited versions, look, watch this, see this? Put the card here, because most people back in the 90s, they stored these cards in binders in alphabetical order on all the artifacts. So the old Ankh of Mishra over here was always in the top left corner, which means on the old regular round binders, this binder part right here would literally, it would be stored improperly and would push up against there. And that little jagged, here, let me put a little closer for you guys. That little jagged mark on the teeth there is what would be bent into the card. So if you hold the card here, right where it would be in the top slot, you'll notice right here, watch my finger here. Take a look. Ready? Is the exact spot under my thumb. Is unfortunately where the 3-ring binder goes into the card. So this is unfortunately, and you can see it's pushed upwards. So again, on the back, you would see it's pushed into the card. See the little groove marks right there, those little lines? That is the exact little lines from the corner of the teeth. And unfortunately, as you can see, it lines up with the left side of the Ankh of Mishra, which again is exactly right in the middle of it. You can see it right in that middle. So I don't know what the bottom is though. That totally threw me off. I did not notice that before the filming of the video though, but no big deal. No hard feelings. But anyways, point is, I wanted to share, so again, getting an alpha beta version of this from old set collectors, it happens a lot because this was always the front page against the old round ones, not the D-ring, the old round binders. They didn't make these type of binders back in the day. All right, so let's swap back over. All right, so swap back over here, everybody. So I'm going to kind of stand over here, and I'm going to put the eBay actual messages. I'm going to walk you guys through what happened with me in this particular scenario, and kind of how it was resolved and how you guys should handle, not if, but when you run into this. Now, I'm going to also tell you all, this isn't very common. You know, on a normal month, I probably do about 100 to 150 purchases on eBay. And I would say a situation like this probably occurs less than 1% of the time. It's probably only about 1 in every maybe 200 transactions where this isn't very common, but a lot of you out there in a long enough time frame will eventually run into something interesting. So let's start off with this, everybody. So you can see up here, hopefully you guys can see okay. I put up the message. This is the first message I sent to the seller. I said, hey, I really appreciate the fast shipping, beautiful card, and unfortunately the middle of the card has been dented inwards from a binder, and unfortunately in this condition, I wouldn't be willing to pay the $400 for the dented card. I didn't realize there was another actual crease line, but whatever. That's not gradable. Please advise. Thanks, Rudy. I was just saying, look, man, I'm not willing to pay the full price for a card that's actually kind of, I was really trying to look for more of a gradable, kind of a really kind of pack fresh condition. And the card I thought for sure I didn't expect any problems. I mean, this was a snap buy for me. I was super excited about this card. So anyways, the seller replies to me, and he says, hello, the card was shipped in near mint condition in a rigid sleeve, which is true, he did do that. The pictures on eBay show it's in near mint condition at the time of shipment. There's no way for the middle of the card to be dented without the packaging being destroyed in the shipping process. I'm sorry, but all sales are final. So immediately he thinks obviously that I'm referring to shipping damage or something happened. No big deal, that's very common. And, can't really bust his balls for that because, I agree with him. What are the odds of, just something getting poked in the middle of the card and shipping and the packing, I get it. I definitely see his opinion. So I sent a message back to the individual, and I told the seller, I said, hey, you're correct. The card was actually not damaged in shipping. This is a deep surface dent from long-term storage, usually from a 3-ring binder. I'd like to work with you on this, on either a price adjustment, on a price adjustment to prevent actually just returning the card. Thanks, Rudy. So as of right now, I let the seller know that, hey, you're correct. It was packed fine. There's no shipping damage. But unfortunately, that it's not like it's a little ding in the corner. I mean, in my opinion, it's just not packed fresh. It sucks. It is what it is. And I just want to let them know, hey, I really don't want to return the card because I still don't have many of these cards and I'm trying to get some. And even in the rougher condition, I still want it. I mean, even if you're willing to let me keep it at a lower price versus returning it. I'm going to let him make the decision. Both options, it is what it is. It just kind of sucks. Anyway, so the seller replies to me. He says, my cards have been kept in a case, in a box, never in a binder. It was not bent whatsoever prior to shipping. The photos are exactly the card's condition, which is true. The photos he had in the listing, and you guys can go on eBay, type in the beta, press enter, sold listings. And it is his picture does match the actual border, the centering. That is the actual picture. He's telling the truth. Looks like, now this is where things immediately just start to just become a disaster. Looks like you have bent cards in your store from your reviews that you're trying to swap. Please do not be dishonest and try to scam us. We are honest people. Okay, so at this point, things start to get, he's obviously very upset and he's stressed out. He thinks he's being scammed. He starts to go into, I guess I have other cards I'm selling that are bent. Now he's going into, I'm trying to scam, and he's trying to defend that he's honest, which he probably is. I don't see any reason for him not to be honest. He's caught in the moment. He's reacting emotionally, and he's getting upset because usually a situation like this is just, it just kind of hits you. It catches you off guard. You're like, what is going on? What the hell is this? That's a very normal human response. I really don't think it's going to, how do I say it? I don't really think that's abnormal behavior. Does that make sense, everybody? So at that point, I realized, okay, I'm really not going to be able to communicate with this individual. He thinks I'm trying to swap the card out, maybe return a counterfeit or a more damaged version or whatever it is. So I realized that, okay, this isn't going to go real well. So now this is an important lesson for everybody out there. You never ever open disputes, returns, chargebacks against this seller or any other seller unless you give people a fair chance. In this world, buying and selling online already carries a certain level of risk. You must always give the seller, the local store, the big corporation, the little Timmy in the basement, everybody deserves a fair chance. Okay? That's why the very first thing I presented to him, I said, hey, this is what's going on. Kind of is what it is. What do you want to do? So, unfortunately, there was no, just return it. Or, send me a picture. These kind of things didn't really occur right now. There was no, he didn't want to see a picture. He didn't believe it. It's right to escalation and accusations, which is, once you cross that road, that's kind of the end of it. And at that point, you're going to have to just go to eBay, hit a return, and just open a return thing and send the card back for a refund. And then the seller can resell it to somebody else, and they can disclose it on the listing, whatever they want to do, or they can keep it, sell it locally, and have someone inspect it. That's up to them. But again, always give people a fair chance. Whether it's giving myself a chance, another store, like I said, everybody deserves a chance to either communicate, defend themselves, understand what's going on. That is a respectable thing to do no matter what you're buying and selling in this world. And you could be selling tacos, graded currency, stamps. You could be selling adult toys. You could be selling literally Rudy's hair. You can do anything, but you got to give people a fair chance in this world. Okay, so at that point, I swapped over and I just went to eBay and I just hit, I'm going to return the card. And even I'll pay the $3 shipping. I got to ship it back for a refund. This isn't going to work. So, as you can see here, I open a return. I just said, hey, I'm going to return the card. I put on here, reason for return just doesn't match the description or photos. I put a comment on the return on eBay saying, look, it's a beautiful card. You guys can read it. Typo. Typical Rudy. I'm such a hurry all the time and busy. I always do typos. Sorry about that, everybody. Unfortunately, the card has surface damage from a 3-ring binder. I attempted to communicate with the seller. It went very poorly. So I went ahead and did that just to go ahead and start that timer. Because again, eBay is going to allow both parties a couple days to communicate, try to work it out before eBay or before the seller allows the return or eBay forces the return with a little $3 shipping label. The seller immediately replies. And at this point, it's escalating. The individual's very upset, very angry. So at this point, the seller says, whoa, whoa, whoa. No returns accepted. We believe you're trying to swap this card with a damaged card from your store, which you have been caught doing in the past. Okay. So obviously, anybody who knows me, I have never sold a single beta, alpha, I don't sell any old cards. It's been this way for 5 years, probably 10 years, but 5 years on YouTube. And so immediately the individual is sticking with the story that he's getting scammed. Obviously, based on the individual, he doesn't know who I am. He doesn't watch YouTube or anything. So I definitely realize this is escalating, and this is going to be a great case study for everybody to learn from. So I reply one last time on the eBay case, excuse me, and I said, whoa, as you guys see on the message, I'm going to go ahead and wait until February 20th for eBay to step in. I'm unable to communicate with the seller for the return. All right, so that's really about it. But for the record, the story ended on this. Actually, a day later, the actual seller slept on it, and this is a very important cool-off. We're going to talk about this in a minute, everybody. The seller actually ended up sleeping on it. The next day, he actually sent me a message saying, hey, will you send me some pictures? So a day later, I guess he cooled off and realized what was going on. I sent him some pictures of, you could see the dented area. I didn't really show the other bottom crease, but whatever, who cares? But the actual dented picture, I said, hey, this is what it looks like. Look, I genuinely don't think the seller knew. I genuinely believe, and this happens a lot on old cards, he believes it was perfect. He believes that there was not damage on the card. Because remember, we looked at that on camera at first. When you looked at the card, there was no way to see the damage unless you pulled it all out of the sleeves, used bright lighting like I use for my filming in the studios, and when you put the lighting on, you can see it. And that's how I inspect cards. That's how when people grade at Beckett and PSA, they grade, they put lighting on it, they zoom in. That's the things they do. So most people are not going to catch and really realize that. So I genuinely believe this seller didn't know they had surface damages. Like on Beckett, the 4 categories of analyzing a card, you have your corners, your edges, the centering of the actual manufacturing, and of course, the most important, in my opinion, the surface of the card, which is the #1 most missed category that people don't check. So, long story short, a day or two later, he gave him a picture, and then he got very short, and he was very unhappy, I could tell. And then he sent another message saying, what do you want? And I said, look, I'll either return the card, it's no big deal, or you can give me a partial refund, and then I'll keep the card. Both options, it makes no difference at this point. So let's just move on. Seriously, it's one little card for a couple $100. It's not a big deal, everybody. Let's go ahead and get to the final part of this video. So I want to comment on the end of this video now is what we've learned from this, and what I want everybody else out there to learn is it's very important to communicate with people. If you are the seller and let's say Timmy's Emporium is selling the card. And let's say you ship out a dual land from Revised that's worth Underground Sea for $800 in mint condition. And the buyer gets the card, and the buyer sends a message and says, hey, what's a good example? I don't know. The surface has dents all over it and all kinds of weird things that weren't obvious in the pictures because that doesn't come through on a scan or a picture for eBay. Do not attack the individual. Yes, I will be honest. There is about probably 1% of the people on eBay that are going to be bad buyers and sellers, and they will try to scam you. That is real. This seller, in his concern and paranoia, tells me he's definitely either experienced something bad before or there's outside variables and stress affecting his decision making. So you must be very careful, and that's why I never once replied to the individual, said, why are you accusing me? What's wrong with you? Don't do that. It doesn't do anything. We're both just trying to do a transaction, and unfortunately, clearly, he either has a bad past experience or he's got financial pressure. Something's going on that's putting pressure and creating more anxiety for the individual. He genuinely feels someone's coming after him. And, from my experience on eBay, YouTube, Patreon, local stores, going to magic events in the past, and doing all this stuff, believe it or not, no joke, everybody, 99+% of the people buying and selling magic cards, or anything on eBay, they're actually really good people. No joke, everyone. The amount of transactions I've done, and I buy over 100 transactions of sealed product and old single cards on eBay a month. And this type of thing only happens once every couple months. Excuse me, just ate a bunch of tacos for breakfast. And, believe it or not, even when I've had problems in the past, usually it's not that big of a deal. Sometimes the seller just says, just send it back. I don't want to deal with anything. I don't trust you. No big deal. Other times, literally, it's, hey, tell me what's going on. Hey, I'll give you $20 to keep it. I'll give you $50. I'll give you 5%, 20%, 30%. Depends if it's a sealed box, a single card, a graded. It depends on the actual item being discussed. So that's very important, everybody. When you handle these things, you must focus on the communication. Don't just ghost them. Like, I'm not going to take this seller, even though he was very unhappy and accused me of a lot of things. You don't just go after them for blood. You don't go after TCG player sellers, vendors at events, local stores for scamming you, local or eBay seller. Do not immediately ignore them and open up a claim or go to your bank and do a chargeback. You don't do that to people. That is wrong. Although it doesn't happen very often, it is something that is a real thing in the online world. Unfortunately, yes, the world is very skewed towards buyers, but keep in mind, PayPal, eBay, TCG Player, they do track this stuff. If you buy 50 cards on TCG Player, in 40 of the 50 things, you start opening returns and sellers are complaining and things are going on. They track this stuff. Same thing on eBay. If I'm buying 100 transactions a month on eBay and magic cards, and I start opening returns and saying this, or I want a partial refund or a credit, if I do this to tons of sellers, they're going to notice, and I'm going to get banned from eBay. You see what I'm getting at? This stuff, they do track this stuff. You return too much and do too much shady stuff on Amazon, Amazon will ban your account. You do too much of this stuff with any form of vendor on any website. We are in an era where technology does track this stuff. So do not try, honestly, never try to go out of your way to just do this knowing, I'll do it one time, get a free $100. I get $1,000 for free by stealing this box of cards. You may get away with it, but it's wrong. It will catch up to you. And trust me, you don't want that kind of karma. It's not worth it. In the long game, just like many things in this world, if you try to do the right thing and communicate with people, no joke, everyone. Look, I've bought probably 500-600 collections from around the world on this channel, and you guys have seen all the collections over the years. Between the local stores, people shipping them to me, going to events, meeting people in public places, and I can tell you, out of those maybe 600 collections I've absorbed, I probably only had problems with maybe 2 or 3 out of 600 people. 590 something of the people were actually great people. And the same thing goes with just big companies, magic events, TCG Player, and eBay. So that's the most important thing here. I wanted you all to see that, these are things that people who buy and deal in collectibles, I deal with this stuff all the time. This was a unique one. That's the reason I made the video, because I haven't had one where the seller starts accusing and gets real aggressive. That's the reason I wanted to share it. And the number one takeaway, again, is I did not reciprocate the anger and attacks and threats. You just got to walk away. Because when someone is that dead set on something, you are not going to be able to change their mind. You have to take the higher road, ladies and gentlemen. It's no different than any form of message boards, any form of social media. When people are accusing you of ABC, someone's coming after you, you got a disgruntled employee. Actually, one of the most common things I get from local stores around the country when they contact me or email me through YouTube, it's the store owners are stressed out and they're upset because there's a social media mob on Facebook or Reddit coming after them because maybe they're selling the new Pokemon box. Instead of $110, they're asking $150, and a couple people are trying to go after them and get them shut down, review bomb, because they're ripping people off. And essentially, this is a very common thing nowadays because we all want to save the local game store, but how dare they make money? I know. That's just a side effect of our culture. And I felt it was important to share this story because I want everyone to learn that when the day comes, you're dealing with something, a disagreement over a box of cards, a collection of cards, or an individual card. The most important thing, everyone, is to keep the emotion out. Try to work with the other party. If you can't work with the other party, you have to know when to walk away. That's an imperative thing in this world. That is one of the most difficult things when I'm buying and selling large Magic collections. That's the toughest thing. That is by far the toughest thing for me to deal with. When a seller comes to me with a set of $20,000 or $30,000 of unlimited, a complete set of unlimited Power 9, and they're like, it's all gem mint condition. I'm like, whoa, I'll give you 30 grand. This thing's in gem mint condition. And they're like, no, I want 70 grand. And I'm like, dude, that's more than the value of all the cards purchased singly. But I'm just like, oh my, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. When you detect that, it's tough to walk away and lose something so beautiful, and do you really want it? But you have to know when to let it go. And that's a very important thing for everybody. Now, in this particular situation with this one card, to my surprise, the next day, the seller seemed more calm. He was very short in his responses compared to previous, so I could tell he was unhappy, but he definitely removed the emotion. And it actually worked out. I accepted a partial refund. I kept the card, I closed the case. Everyone just moves on. And, I do think the card's worth, excuse me, even in the damaged condition, the card is worth a couple $100, and that's really the end of the story. And I hope you guys learned something. And always remember, treat everybody respectfully, because seriously, most people are not trying to hose you. Now, again, if you're going on Silk Road and Backpage and all these weird things on Craigslist and meeting behind a building next to the dumpster of Rudy's taco stand, and they're trying to sell you Black Lotuses for $20, well, then you kind of deserve it. But overall, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Remember, that's all I have to say, folks. And as always, remember, at the end of the video, if you're still watching, I do not use social media. If you did not communicate with me directly through AlphainvestmentsLLC at gmail.com, it was fraud. You did not talk to me. If you communicate any other social media app, whether it's these WhatsApps and these Twitters and Tumblrs and MySpaces, I don't use any of it. So you did not talk to me. It's a scam. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there.